All right, everyone. Quick interference here from us. Since this is a two-part, we want to still include our segment of the week, which is shout out or shame. So we're going to do our shout out and shame right now.
Yeah, before we speak in part 2 with Nayelli, Lulu's friend who's had more strict parents, the strict parenting trope. And we're going to talk more, dive in more how she grew kind of out of it and what her tips are for other parents. Okay, but the shout out and shame, our segment. Our shout out and shame this week is one thing actually, right?
Yep.
It's the show...
The White Lotus.
Yeah.
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
Why it's a shout out? It's because it's an incredible watch. 3 seasons, amazing locations, amazing actors, production value,
the script, and also the accuracy and relatability, especially coming from people who have never grown up or even been around that many wealthy people. So it's super fun because now I feel like I know everything I need to know, and I'm actually less excited to become rich. So I guess that makes my life easier.
It's a great watch. So yeah, that's definitely why it's a shout out. I mean, Mike White, of course, is a genius and he loves reality TV like me. So yeah, I love him. But why is it also a shame?
Yeah, it's a shame this season specifically because I feel like this season gave us so much and we had so many interesting character arcs, relationships, and build-ups just to kind of lead nowhere. And that was a little bit disappointing. And I think I speak for a lot of us when the last episode specifically was underwhelming. And we had so many storylines that just fizzled away, but also certain storylines that just got cut off so abruptly. I feel like one that's really popular on TikTok is when Rick's father admits that he's the father, and the line is quite literally no, he was your dad, he told me. And people were just that was...
It was rushed.
Such a rushed line for such an intense build-up.
Yeah, and also the actors of, Mook and Gay Talk, who are the locals, who are from Thailand. I remember with season 2, the girls who were from Sicily, they had such a beautiful storyline. Their arc was completely developed, incredible. And these two, it was kind of
It's why were they there? I don't know. They didn't really add anything to the story.
So I think maybe it should have been more episodes, He is an incredible writer and has an amazing story, ideas and everything. And I heard interviews with him where there was much more he wanted to do. So why not make it 15 episodes?
I feel like even if it was 20, we would all be locked in.
Yeah, so that is our shout out and shame of the week. And now we're going to continue part 2 of our incredible conversation with Lulu's best friend, Nayelli.
Back to her. Bye.
So obviously being an adult and being independent now and having more responsibilities, and still not being, treated as an adult and given the space to be an adult and being trusted to be an adult, that's when it became really toxic for me because I just felt like I still didn't have a voice even though I was doing all these things and I was taking care of myself. And that was just one of the things that really affected me at that time. And then obviously there was a bad argument, a lot of things were said. Hurtful things, so there was a lot of anger. So obviously the day after I decided I was leaving.
But you guys had arguments like that every other day.
Yeah.
Why was it different this day that you were I'm out?
I would say the things that were said, it was because the words if this is how you are, then leave, and I don't want you here. That was the ending point for me, and I was
after everything you've done for her, and then she's saying
I would say, and I want to give credit, I did also Lulu helped me out during the process where she was there for me. It wasn't just one of those things where I just left the house and
no,
you could go to your friends.
Lulu had her apartment during this time, so obviously and she was always informed of everything that was going on with my life and my relationship with my parents, so I had that support, and that also I would say helped me make a decision because I felt like if it wasn't for that I probably still would be there in that space.
I mean it's also privileged to be a lot of kids your age especially
they can't leave the house, they're stuck
especially now renting an apartment is impossible if you don't have the means and stuff like that. So I would say that was one of the things that pushed me to just say, I don't want to experience this anymore. I need to leave. And I did, and I feel like that just changed my life, like, for the better, because that is the one thing that made me even have a better relationship with her. And now I'm living alone, and now I'm alive. I'm okay. So that made her see, like, okay, she's okay. Now I was treated like an adult, and I was independent, and I had the power to say, I don't have to deal with this. And if you treat me or you say something to me that I don't like,
you can just go home.
I can go home. I have my own space. And then I think that even made her learn that through time. And then now, like, when we get together sometimes, like, we're two adults just talking.
Yeah, and I feel like the stakes are higher. Like, before she could say anything and you had nowhere to go, you were depending on her. Yeah. But now that you don't and you have your own power, it's you have to be more careful on what you say, because you can literally get up and leave.
And that argument you had and the harsh words that were spoken, were you and your mom able to kind of put that to bed? Is she, because I know, especially for immigrant mom, I'm speaking about my own mom, it's very hard for them to apologize. Because they so
apologize,
right? Because they feel, no, but I know why I'm doing this, I know why I'm saying this matter of respect and this and this. How has that been for your mother and you?
Yeah, I feel like accountability wasn't a thing at the time. So it took time. I feel like even when I moved out, I didn't have contact with my parents for months. So,
and your mom had blocked you, no?
No, I think I just...
Or you blocked her or something?
I blocked her.
But then I thought she blocked you on, like, Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, social media, but...
She didn't want to see,
so I didn't have contact with her for, like, 2 months. Where I didn't speak to her, and then, like, nothing. And I feel like that also just helped her realize that it was serious, and this is something that, you know.
And that was your first time in 21 years that you ever went no contact with your mom.
And then I also feel like I was there for her, and then now she was in her own world, but I wasn't there, and she couldn't really talk to somebody. So I feel like those things made her realize, like, I'm, like, probably losing somebody that, you know what I mean, like, my daughter, and I don't have this anymore. So I think that also made her realize, well, that was wrong. Because now, like, she has apologized for everything, and, like, we're good.
That's beautiful.
And it took time for accountability to be taken, but it you know, I think it was important because...
We're all learning,
it was important because it, like, helped me a lot, so...
And, do you think if it wasn't for you moving out, that you would ever be able to build this relationship in the house, or you feel like there's no chance?
I feel like, at the time, it felt like no chance. Because... I don't know, I feel like growing up with, like, strict parents in households, like, power is a really big thing for them, and I don't think that they'd like to lose that, especially saying, like, in a Hispanic household is my house, my rules. Yeah. When you can be 30 years old, but you live in my house, you do what you have to follow these rules. So I feel like it probably would have still been the same.
It's a power thing.
So it is a power thing.
And I understand too, like, especially for your mom who, like, had such a rough, like, upbringing where she never really knew where she was gonna be, what she was gonna do, what she would get into. She had no control whatsoever over her life. So when you finally have that, it's, like, hard not to abuse that power, because it's like your first time having control and having power, and it's like you want to use it.
And then another thing that I learned, like, with time and being an adult is, my mom never got to experience the world here. She came here to work. And she...
For you guys, so that you guys could come.
Course, yeah. She wasn't ever allowed to be young and free and do things. She was responsible since she was 16 years old when she had a kid. Came here, I didn't see my mom for years, so she came here, she worked 3 to 4 jobs to be able to, you know, start a legal process to bring us to the U.S. to be with us, and you know that.
Yeah, she fought for like 6 years, right? 6 years until she could bring you guys here.
Yeah, and then it was a lot of things. She was like also dealing with depression and a lot of things. So this was a person that came here to work and work and work and work, and she didn't have the time to explore the world here and see how things work, because she didn't have friends. She would just work and work, and then that's one of the things that I feel like plays a role in how strict she was, because she came with the ideas of an old country that is way different in here, and that is dangerous, and you do have to be more protective of your kids.
I mean, let's be honest, this is a dangerous city.
It is.
But different. It makes a difference. Like, she never got to really experience, like, going out in the city and realizing that, okay, like, not only is this not as bad, but also this is fun and this is important. Like, she never got to have a good day for herself where she was like, wow, like, I needed that. And also, if you don't experience the world, then you don't know potential solutions either. Like, I know in my parents, they were always making sure we were very aware of consequences of actions or certain places. But for her, if she doesn't even know them, then you're going to be even more protective because you don't even really know exactly what you're protecting them from or how to like help them.
And also not being able to also invest in other things, right? So it wasn't, I can imagine working 3 jobs, being so tired, so you know, not then taking you guys on the weekend, okay, let's have breakfast together, we'll go to a museum or to the public library or to a park. I can understand that was
I feel like she never had the time even to create a bond with you guys.
That's one of the main things.
Exactly.
There wasn't time for that because she was working so much. Which I really appreciate because I grew up not like really needing anything. I had everything I needed, and in a way I was spoiled. So shout out to my mom.
Can we just shout out and respect to your mom?
It was
women.
Yeah, it's really inspiring.
And didn't she even meet your stepdad and even help him like build his way up too?
Yeah, and this was a person that grew up here, and then she helped him, and then she taught him how to, hustle, how to have money in a way.
And she barely knew English to eat too when she came here.
She still doesn't really know English. And now she built a life for herself, and she has an amazing job, and she travels and for her work.
She's a citizen.
She's a citizen. So it's just a beautiful outcome, and then she did work hard for that. So a lot of the things that.
And I remember them taking you guys on vacations.
We did go.
Also, Lulu.
No, my favorite was when your parents would take me for vacation because they would spoil us. Like it's so fun because they're her stepdad and mom. They work super hard and they're like barely home. So when they go on vacation, they go all out. I'm talking about boats, horse riding, jet skis, house, pool. Like
we didn't do that.
No, that was my first time experiencing like big vacations with your family.
Wow.
I would say that like she had a really hard upbringing, and she did the best that she could.
Incredible.
And especially because she never also experienced a relationship with her mother. She didn't.
No.
Her mother was never present. They still don't have a relationship till this day. So. She didn't have an example of how to be a mother, and she was just doing the best that she could with what she had and what she grew up with. So,
So growing up with strict parents, you said it made you more of a liar, more sneaky. So how did it affect your like personality till this day? And what is it like to be aware of that? How do you I guess approach that or deal with that?
I don't know. I feel like I no longer am that person because I'm independent.
So how long have you been independent now?
A year and 2 years.
Like a year and a half.
Yeah, close to 2 years. So, and I feel like even during that time, I was never like a bad friend, but I would say in relationships, I was like lying a little bit maybe in the past.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So I don't know. I feel like you get used to things and.
Like desensitized.
Yeah,
I remember you were very desensitized.
I was
So even if your friend would get upset, you're so used to that, I guess, right? Toxicity or closing off your feelings to not.
And then I feel like I don't know. I just became very what's the word? Where I was just like to myself, and I had a hard time even like opening up.
Yeah, you became in like this shell.
Yeah, I was in this shell where I was very, like, it was a very limited amount of people that knew me, because I feel like growing up, not a lot of people got to know me and experience me. It would just be like you, that's it. You know what I mean? So it made me become really like to myself, and like not in a good way.
No, and I would say like for me the biggest change that I've seen in you from like when you were like under your mom's control versus now is standing up for yourself. That's a big one. Like you used to not be able to stand up for yourself except with me. Like with me, I feel like I was the first person maybe in your life that you were yourself with. Like actually. But I remember mainly based on the boys you were attracting, like the boys at that time that you attracted were very like not the good kind of guys, and you like didn't stand up for yourself, and you had a really hard time like even having conversations with them about what you feel. Yeah. And now it's like the opposite. Yeah. Like now she's one of my most straight up friends that I have, and she's gonna tell people exactly what she thinks and how she feels, and she's not afraid to tell a boy to leave her alone.
So I would say, because I said before during that time I felt like I didn't have a voice. Like I didn't have the power to be a person and say I don't like this, don't do this. So and I also didn't know how to do relationships because I never...
didn't have a good one.
You were not allowed to date
I wasn't really. I had to be sneaky about that too.
Okay, so you experiment.
You meant just like texting boys and like...
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of your boyfriends were mainly through FaceTime because you weren't allowed to hang out with them. Yeah. So it was kind of this FaceTime relationship.
My first relationship was a long distance relationship.
Yeah, and it was just FaceTime calls.
Yeah, because he was going to college in a whole different state and terrible.
And was your mother able to talk to you about men, sexuality, that kind of stuff?
No, that wasn't a conversation.
Not even the bare minimum.
Was it just not allowed, right?
No, it wasn't allowed, and I feel like I would also shy away from even like speaking about it, and like I would shy away from like even when I was texting, like I don't want her to see that I'm smiling because she's gonna think I'm talking to a boy. Yeah. And that's just like one of those things where it's like I felt like if she knew I had a boyfriend and I was asking for permission to go somewhere, then she'd be like, "You're gonna go see him, aren't you?" Yeah. So and it's like
like when she would use it against you if you were to admit it. Yeah. If she did talk about boys, it was very like, oh, who you're gonna like marry or end up with, and somebody who you're gonna first introduce to the family before you do anything sexual. Like it was very like organized.
It was
conservative,
very conservative.
Safe. Trying to protect.
It's funny because now it's like the opposite. Because conversations I've had with her in the past, she's like, get to know people and like you have to like date around, and I was like, wow, like, this is something I don't think you would have told me before.
Yeah, now she's finally telling you.
So it's like I feel like just time and growing up and like being the person to say, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to deal with this anymore because it affects me, and so I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna let you think about everything and like process it as a mother. I feel like that really helped her realize that like certain things, and being a little too controlling as a parent, it's not the best thing you can do. I feel like it's so important for you to trust your parents and for you to like go to your parents and talk to your parents and with whatever it is.
Yeah. For people who are watching and listening to this, who maybe
are dealing with strict parents right now,
who's dealing with strict parents and who cannot just move out, or even because a lot of kids when they go to college, but a lot of kids, especially in New York City, commute to college, stay at home because it is expensive. Yes. What would, from both of you, the advice, because that's one question, because they also know Lulu, so I also wonder, do they love her, or is she like the nemesis who got you? Yeah. So let's start with that. How do they feel about Lulu, and then what would be your advice? Yeah.
So, no, they liked her up until like...
We had some ups and downs.
Yeah, it was a really rocky relationship, but now they like you, and they always ask about you, and even when she cooks, she's like, oh, bring some for Lulu. Like, it's just like one of those, but I feel like during the time that it was they had a negative idea of you, it was when they found out that I was like going out with you, and then you were the friend I was doing things with.
So, and then it must have also thought negative about us, right?
They probably felt like she has too much freedom. That's so wrong. Because
I was the bad influence. And the good thing though, why her mom always likes me, is because I love her food, and I get so excited eating her food, and I eat a plate full, like I finish the plate, and I feel like that's the only thing why your mom...
You guys bonded over that.
Yeah, we bonded over that. Because we couldn't really bond much because she didn't know English, and I don't know Spanish, so but then she would watch me eat the food, and she would get so excited, and she would always tell Nayelli to bring me food, and she would always tell me to try her food and try these things. Or if she knew I was coming, she would make something that she knows I like. So that was our way of bonding. It was food, for sure.
Yeah. But she knows you're a good friend. And the friend
I've been
supported
here
me through everything. So.
And at one point they thought we were dating. At one point they were like, like you guys hang out so much, and you guys are always just in the house, in the room. And then what if they're just dating?
When you were teenagers still, in high school?
Because we would just always be in the house, and I was always there. And they were like, who really hangs out with their friends this much?
So that was the question in our friendship. Yeah. I was like, Jesus Christ. And we were just like, bro.
Couldn't be more off.
Literally.
Well, part of it, so Lulu is dating girls. But
Yeah. No, that definitely was
during
made
the
them
time,
think like, oh.
Yeah, but you were.
But during the time, I wasn't even out
She
yet.
wasn't even out.
I wasn't even gay yet. Okay, yeah. So for those who can't leave their house and they're stuck with controlling and strict parents, what would be your advice to them? And what could potentially maybe give them a bond with their parents instead of anger and resentment?
I feel like in order for your parent to trust you, you have to make them trust you. But also, I feel like the main important thing is you have to talk, because it's something I didn't do, but you have to talk about your feelings and how things make you feel. I know it can be really scary, and it's really hard because you're scared of what you're going to hear or things like that. But I think it's just so important to just voice your feelings, your opinion, regardless of their reaction. And just, I feel like, I don't know, just do what you have to do and, you know, talk to your parents.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. And maybe I can help also from the parents' perspective. I so understand that you're so afraid for your children. You want the best for them. You've worked so hard to get them here where they are, and you've sacrificed. I know so many immigrant parents, like you said, sacrifice their youth, their fun, their childhood, their money, everything. I get that.
Yes.
And I fully respect that. And still, mistakes are going to happen. Shit is going to hit the fan. Horrible things are going to happen. You can just not, you can't avoid that.
Of course.
So it's better that it all happens while you're in a good connection with each other.
Yeah.
And you can work on that together. You can explore what freedom is together. It doesn't mean, just go and I don't care.
Yeah, of course.
No, you can be in touch or like, okay, but what is that party? Like, sometimes I remember you guys would go to teenage parties and we would bring you there by the car so I could kind of also feel, okay, remember in Astoria, where is this? Okay, so, you know, that gives a better feeling. My mom did the
you
same.
always have a location.
At the location, my mom would pick me up from parties, and that all the girls would sleep in our apartment, because then she would know they will get home. And she was like, you know, my mom's also a single mom, and she worked also very hard, but she was like, this is something I can do on a Saturday night. You know, I'll just sleep in late on Sunday. I'll pick you up, so I know. So try how difficult and scary it is to get that involvement, to be there.
It's just, I think it's important to just create a safe space for your child, and then that's going to make your child trust you and go to you and talk to you. I think it's really important, especially because I feel like mental health is something that affects a lot of people, and when you're young and it's something that is affecting you, it's even more hard to go to your parents if they are the strict kind, and it's not good. So I think it's important to just create a safe space for your kids to just go to you, talk to you, and just be open with you.
Yeah, and you have to be open-minded. It's like you rather have them try things and maybe make mistakes while you're aware and they're under your roof than them going behind your back and doing it unsafely. And you have to find peace that you have control over your kids until a limited age. They're gonna eventually grow up. They're gonna be able to do their own thing regardless of what you told them. So you need to understand the control is limited. So there's no point in trying to force it on them, because there's only so much you can do at the end of the day.
Yeah, and plus you've been there yourself, right?
That's the biggest thing.
There's a beautiful saying in the Netherlands. I'll try to kind of translate it. In English, you could say like how the host is, that's how he trusts his guests, right? So if you're a good host and if you know you do everything right, you'll probably trust your guests also more to be like you. And it's the same with parenting. So if you know yourself, you can also know your kids. And you know we've all done things that are not allowed. We've all taken horrible risks. We've all gone through I don't know what. And your kids will do the same.
And that's the thing. They have literally half of your DNA. So if anyone's going to be able to help them through those mistakes, it's going to be you. Because most likely when they tell you things, you're going to be like, wow, I remember feeling that. Or, I remember this is something she has from me.
And speaking of that, while we're ending this, I have a bone to pick with these girls. Because when they graduated from high school, it was COVID, it was a terrible year. So I wanted to take them somewhere fun. So we went to St. Thomas. And the drinking age and partying age is 18,
which is why we went.
Yeah. That started
Thank
it.
you, Mom.
And they also went a little too far. I mean, I
Yes.
did have their location, but they promised they would come home, and they
they
didn't.
But in our defense, there was no taxis
Yeah,
anymore.
there's no taxis.
But we knew that.
So we had to wait until the morning.
So don't do this.
But even though I was
And we
upset,
were stuck
I was,
in a house with no water.
Yeah,
Do
poor-
not recommend.
poor girls, and I was very upset because, and that's what, and we had a good conversation about it because I said, your parents trust me
Yes.
Yes.
to take care of you.
So.
Can you imagine me having to call your parents?
yes, that was
Oops.
very wrong. We kind of
That was a really.
did our big one with that.
That was bad. It was some kind of abandoned house. Some
And
abandoned part
around
of
the
the
wrong
island.
people, very dangerous
Yeah, very sketchy people. And there was no running water because it wasn't even his house. And literally, I was so thirsty at some point because it was super hot. So this man grabbed ice and put it in a pan and put that pan on the stove so that he could melt it and make water for us.
Yeah.
And then he made a Snapchat video, posted on a story being like, I'm chefing it up. Sweetie, you're just like...
This is somebody we just met
Yeah.
like an hour ago. Don't do that. It's not. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
And that was
Don't do
us
that.
just.
Do not recommend.
being
But
crazy.
I did worse because when I was in India at your age, at 18, me and my best friends who were supposed to stay with my mom's best friend just left because we wanted to travel. So can you imagine what we did to my parents?
Yeah.
And they didn't even know where we were. There were no phones, no cell phones. We just disappeared. We want to see India. We don't want to stay in one place. We just took off, didn't tell them, left in the
that
early
is worse.
morning,
That is
took the train, and started to travel India. 18. Crazy.
I think that is worse than
Crazy. That's worse, right?
All right, you know what I did that was actually worse than that? No, I'm joking. It's gonna be a competition.
No, I feel like that was my craziest.
No, yeah. That was definitely one of our craziest mates.
Okay, well, here you go. Mistakes will be made. Lessons will
We're
be
here,
learned.
safe and healthy.
Yeah.
And as I always say, I love you. I love you. I love me. And we love all of you who are watching. Please like, subscribe, give us 5-star reviews. Follow us on Substack. We have a great newsletter every week where we put great
My girl.
everything about our show notes, and we need those 5-star reviews, and we also need you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Very important for us as independent podcast makers. Thank you so much, Nayelli.
Thank you,
I had a
Nayelli,
lot
for
of
being
fun.
here.
I loved it. Thank you for having me.